prequels, I thought, were almost an impossible task. How do you tell the story that we've all grown up with imagining who Anakin Skywalker was? In Phantom Menace, you're watching these two Jedi in their prime fight this evil villain. Maul couldn't be more obviously the villain. He's designed to look evil, and he is evil, and he just expresses that from his face all the way out through the type of lightsaber he fights with. What's at stake is really how Anakin's going to turn out, because Qui-Gon is different than the rest of the Jedi, and you get that in the movie, and Qui-Gon is fighting because he knows he's the father that Anakin needs, because Qui-Gon hasn't given up on the fact that Jedi are supposed to actually care and love, and that's not a bad thing. The rest of the Jedi are so detached and they've become so political that they've really lost their way. And Yoda starts to see that in the second film. But Qui-Gon is ahead of them all. And that's why he's not part of the council. So he's fighting for Anakin, and that's why it's the duel of the fates. It's the fate of this child. And depending on how this fight goes, Anakin is his life is gonna be dramatically different. So Qui-Gon loses, of course. And he's left with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan trains Anakin at first out of a promise he makes to Qui-Gon, not because he cares about him. When they get Anakin, when they find him on Tatooine, he says, "Why do I feel like we've found another useless life form?" He's comparing Anakin to Jar Jar.
Excuse me.
And he's saying, this is a waste of our time. Why are we doing this? Why do you see importance in these creatures like Jar Jar Binks and this 10-year-old boy? This is useless. So he's a brother to Anakin eventually, but he's not a father figure. That's a failing for Anakin. He doesn't have the family that he needs. He loses his mother in the next film. He fails on this promise that he made to Mother, I will come back and save you. So he's left completely vulnerable. And Star Wars ultimately is about family. So that moment in that movie, which a lot of people I think diminish into just a cool lightsaber fight, but it's everything that the entire 3 films of the prequels hangs on, is that one particular fight. And Maul serves his purpose, and at that point died before George may bring him back, but he died. And that's showing you again how the Emperor is completely self-serving. He doesn't care, he's just a tool and he's using people. And now he's gonna use this child. That follows all the way through to the line which terrified me as a kid when the Emperor tells Luke, "You, like your father, are now mine."
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Mandalorian video for Dave Filoni's Duel of the Fates clip and why it's so important to the Star Wars franchise, but also how his conversation is important for what's going on with the Mandalorian and the Baby Yoda character during its overarching story. So all this stuff that they're doing here in this clip, this is all for the Mandalorian series. We also found out about another really huge Clone Wars character that's going to debut live action during the Mandalorian Season 2, so I'll talk about that during the video as well. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing a Disney Plus giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your favorite Mandalorian moment on the video. Careful for spoilers for everything that happened during Season 1, and we'll just do this top 5 style, starting with number 5. So Dave Filoni there just dropping some hot knowledge on the importance of the Phantom Menace and the Duel of the Fates fight scene, how it's so important for setting up the entire Skywalker saga. The importance of Qui-Gon Jinn, the failure of Obi-Wan Kenobi not being able to be the father figure to young Anakin Skywalker that he needed to be, because the Duel of the Fates is literally them dueling over the fate of this child, Anakin Skywalker, that the Emperor is going to use. Whatever your feelings on the prequels were, I feel like Dave Filoni just made Phantom Menace that much cooler as a movie. Like, you find out new information, new context, and it suddenly makes the movie way cooler than you originally thought it was. He also talks about the overarching thing that the Emperor was responsible for controlling Anakin, using him as a tool, just like Darth Maul, forcing him to do all these evil things, and now he's getting ready to do it to Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. That line of dialogue where the Emperor is basically telling Luke, "You're mine now, take your father's place." And despite the fact that Luke hasn't done anything that you could call evil, he's got this darkness to him at times, and Filoni truly believes that Luke would have gone to the dark side. But number 4, the thing that saved him from succumbing to his hatred like the Emperor wanted is Luke looking at Darth Vader, his father, the Emperor, his cybernetic hand, then his lightsaber, taking it all into context, saying, "I'm going to be selfless," throwing the lightsaber away. So it's not his great Jedi powers that save Luke Skywalker in that moment or save Darth Vader. It's Luke's love of his father. So as he says, the son saves the father, then the father saves the son.
And he says, you know, I am a Jedi like my father before me, but what he's really saying, and why I connect so powerfully to it, is like he's saying, I love my father, and there's nothing you can do that's going to change that. And the Emperor can't understand that connection. Why wouldn't you take someone from the power of the galaxy? And Anakin then in that moment has to decide to be the father that he's never had. He has to give up all the power of the galaxy and save his son. And that's what saves him in turn. So the son said the father says the son, and it works out perfectly. And I draw that line all the way from Phantom Menace to Jedi. That's the story of Star Wars.
I'll explain how this is all important to the story of Baby Yoda and The Mandalorian in a second, too. Remember, the whole reason why Dave Filoni was laying all that knowledge on the Duel of the Fates on everyone in that room for The Mandalorian is because they're talking about the Mandalorian series. And if you're wondering where all these cool clips are coming from, this is actually from the Mandalorian special series that they're doing on Disney+. It's sort of a documentary series for The Mandalorian. There are 8 episodes total. They're airing episodes weekly. This clip that I was talking about was from episode 2. I will do more videos for the series, but because it's kind of a documentary, it doesn't really lend itself to the top 10 WTF episode videos that I would normally do, so I'll try to find some other way to do videos for this special Mandalorian series. So 3, why is this important to Baby Yoda in the Mandalorian story? Well, it's already implied that Moff Gideon wants to use Baby Yoda as part of a secret cloning project for some new Force-sensitive Darkside troopers. But it also sounds like he wants to use Baby Yoda himself as a tool the way that the Emperor used Darth Vader and then tried to use Luke Skywalker. And based on what Dave Filoni is saying about how Luke Skywalker saved his father, Anakin Skywalker, then Anakin saved Luke, what will ultimately save Baby Yoda from succumbing to the dark side like Luke Skywalker will be his relationship with Mandalorian, his father figure. So the son, Baby Yoda, winds up saving the father, the Mandalorian, and then the father, Mandalorian, winds up saving the son. That's why it's so important that Greef Karga had that line of dialogue basically saying that exact same thing at the end of Season 1, Episode 8. He says something like, "You'll save him, then maybe he'll also save you."
Take care of this little one.
Or maybe it'll take care of you.
Number 2, we've already seen Baby Yoda has a darkness in him too, like Luke Skywalker had a darkness in him. He was totally willing to force choke Cara Dune. That's a technique favored by the Sith, but it's still so early in the Mandalorian series that a lot of these larger Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, Emperor themes probably won't totally be paid off until the final season, whatever that winds up being, either Season 5 or Season 6 or whatever they decide to end the series. So it's always awesome to watch Dave Filoni show how much he understands Star Wars and how much he cares about it. I know a lot of you have asked if he would ever take a bigger leadership role over the Star Wars brand at Lucasfilm. What's happening right now is that he's actually sort of getting his feet wet in live action with the Mandalorian series. I think that eventually what'll happen is he'll get a chance to direct a live action Star Wars movie. Then eventually, if that goes well, then he will probably eventually take over the Star Wars brand. But number 1, really awesome news. Welcome to The Mandalorian, Lady Bo-Katan. There was a report this morning that Katie Sackhoff has been cast as Bo-Katan for The Mandalorian Season 2, live-action Bo-Katan. Most of you know her as the voice of animated Bo-Katan in the Clone Wars or during Star Wars Rebels later in the timeline. My biggest theory about her character during Season 2 is that it's going to be connected to Mandalorian Great Purge flashbacks of some kind, or around that period, and it'll be connected to the backstory on the Darksaber and how Moff Gideon got it, and Baby Yoda's backstory. If you didn't watch the Clone Wars, you don't know who Bo-Katan is or why it's a big deal that they're doing her live action. She's actually the younger sister of Duchess Satine Kryze, former ruler of Mandalore, and the only woman that Obi-Wan Kenobi ever loved. Her younger sister, Katie Sackhoff's character Bo-Katan, was also a part of the Death Watch Mandalorians at one point under Pre Vizsla, former wielder of the Darksaber, voiced by Jon Favreau. Remember, he also did the voice of the heavy infantryman Mandalorian during Season 1, who was part of House Vizsla. So Moff Gideon had to have gotten the Darksaber from Bo-Katan at some point during the Great Purge, either because he killed her or he stole it from her. She was the last person to have it right before the start of A New Hope. So my first big theory is that her story during Season 2 is just connected mostly to that stuff. It's totally possible that she's alive in present day and we'll see her help Mandalorian and Baby Yoda somehow along with Ahsoka Tano, who also has a deep connection to Bo-Katan via the Clone Wars and the Siege of Mandalore. We just saw that play out during the final 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, which were amazing. So if you haven't watched those new episodes, at least watch the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars. They overlap with Revenge of the Sith, and they make the movie so much better. Bo-Katan herself was the last major leader of the Mandalorian people right before A New Hope, before the Great Purge. So she's a core part of the Mandalorian's personal history around the time that he took his oath as a Mandalorian when he was younger. But if we get any other news about what's going on with Season 2 guest stars or Clone Wars characters coming to live action like Rex, I will totally do a video about it. Post all your predictions in the comments below, and everyone click here for my Mandalorian Season 2 Boba Fett teaser video, and click here for my Clone Wars Season 7 finale video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. This is The Way.